Hello everyone, I'm Melanie with Painting Crafty, and tonight it is Draw Along Night inside of YouTube. I'm just streaming into YouTube tonight. I do have a Facebook page, so some people watch me over there, but tonight it's just YouTube. So tonight I'm going to show you how to draw this pretty little Valentine. It's very simple. We'll just lay out the blocks. I'll show you how to kind of get an idea of how to place your flowers around your cone. And then I will show you the watercolor process. I'm just going to be using a simple little set of watercolors is what I'm going to be using. Nothing terribly expensive. It's just very much a student grade watercolor palette. And then I'm going to be using the Canson watercolor paper, 140 pound. It's still considered a student grade watercolor paper. So that means it's reasonably priced. But it's a very nice watercolor paper. You're going to be happy with the results you get. So often we struggle with our paper and we don't really get the results that we want. So spend just a tiny bit more money on your paper when you're first learning and just buy whatever watercolor you can afford. So what I'm going to do start out first is I'm going to switch the screen here to make the drawing surface bigger and me little. Now I'm working on a 6x6 little frame tonight. Nothing too big. I think this would make a super darling card for anyone, and or just even a little picture to hang up. I did make this a little mixed media. I don't know if my glitter is going to pop on the camera or not, but I have a little bit of Stickles on there, the Stickles brand glitter. It's very pretty glitter, and it's suspended in glue, so you're not going to get glitter everywhere. And then I also used a little bit of a metallic marker on there to add just a sparkle of gold. It's a Valentine's picture. You should add a little bit of sparkle. All right, let's get started. So I'm going to have show you how I start with my drawing, just to give you an idea. I divided my paper in the middle just to give you an idea and a reference of how big and how large I drew things. So this is a 6x6, but this will work on any size of paper that you're using. So I drew my line across the center, and then I measured in the middle, and I just put a little tick mark down here, and that's going to help me develop my cone so it's more towards the middle. And if we take a look here, my cone is drawn in such a way that here's my center line coming across. I'm going to go slightly above my center line just a little bit, and it's going to kind of swoop down a little bit. It's going to look like the paper is wrapped over. So let's start. I'm going to take a look here. Here's the center line down at the bottom, the tick mark, just as a reference point to make sure I know how far I'm going. And then there's my center line. Now I'm going to take a look over here. I'm going to put a tick mark of how far I want to go over with my paper here. And then I'm going to kind of eyeball that and look on this side to get a general idea of they're kind of even, to try to get my picture kind of more centered in the middle. All right, let's start. This is going to be a curved line this direction. We're going to come down. I like doing this little sketchy motion with my hand. I can't draw it all in one motion, so it just helps my hand if I'm drawing in more of a sketch motion. So here we come down this way like that. If you're on YouTube tonight and you're watching live, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up. YouTube really likes it when you do your thumbs up. And if you even want to be extra special, if you have a comment or any type of thing like that, you can put it in the comments. I'm happy to answer your questions, and they just love that. I'm just a little baby page and I'm just starting out, so any bit of help you can give me is greatly appreciated. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to swoop this down ever so lightly. I'm going to draw this very lightly because I know I'm going to be putting flowers on top of it. So some will be on top and some will be behind. All right, we have our picture set up that way. I'm just going to go ahead and take my eraser. I like using these high polymer erasers, the white ones from Pentel. They won't leave any marks on your paper normally. If it does get a little too dirty, like you're noticing you get a lot of buildup on there, you could always clean it off on a piece of scrap paper, and that will just clean your little, that will clean your eraser right up. Now you can use a gum eraser, but I'm heavy-handed, plus I have to show you a little bit darker so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and erase this. This is a special little gizmo. This is a desk vacuum, so if you don't have one of these in your toolbox, this is a great item to do. It just loads up inside of here. They're fairly inexpensive on Amazon. You can find one there. But it'll suck up all those little eraser bits and they won't get in your way. Nothing worse than getting those in your watercolor or your whatever paints you might be using. All right, so let's go ahead and set up our picture. So let's take a look at what's happening here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of the roses and then more of a tulip shape right here. And then I just stuck in my hearts wherever I needed to want to fill in my space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this one right here in the front. This is kind of my centerpiece. This will be my darkest and my brightest color rose is going to be right here. That's going to be my center point. And then as I go back, my roses are going to get a little lighter, less color back there. So I'm going to start with this one. I'm going to put it off just a little bit slightly, not smack in the middle, but just a little off to the one side. And I'm going to be going over the paper. So all I'm going to do is start with a circle here. I'm going to just put it right here, how big I want my rose. Okay, there's my front one. And again, I'm just using that sketchy motion with my hand. Now I'm going to pop up here and do my next rose. And this one's going to kind of be flowing out of my little container that I have drawn. So I want to give some dimension that everything's not just poking right inside of there. Now this rose is coming over onto this side. I'm going to put it behind this rose a little bit. And I'm going to have it behind my paper. So my paper is going to be in front of my rose right like there. Now I'm going to come in the back here and draw that next rose. It's going to be off to this side. And I'm going to draw another circle here. I'm only going to see partial. This is going to be in the background. It's going to be kind of like the farthest back rose like that. And so I've got my roses placed in there. So those are my circles. They don't quite look like roses yet, but you can kind of get the idea of that's where they are. Hi, Carrie. Thanks for coming on tonight and watching on YouTube. Now I'm going to go ahead and pop in my tulip shape. So my tulip shape is going to be, I want it to cross over some of these flowers. So I want it to be in front. So I'm going to start with kind of a U shape here. It's going to go over some of these other flowers. It's going to be sitting in the front. Now when I get to the top, I'm going to do an oval shape because I'm going to be looking into my tulip. Okay, now I can erase some of this if you want to clear that up a little bit to see where you are with your flower. Okay, we got that part on there. We have that part on there. Now let's go ahead. I've not done a lot of detail yet on any of my flowers. I'm still setting up my area of how I want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and pop in a heart here, like my filler space. So this is going to go over that back rose. It might touch some of your tulip. It's going to just kind of take up a little bit of space in there. So I'm going to look here. These are like little hearts that would be on sticks that would be inside of the bouquet. So I'm going to do this little one right here. I'm going to make it, I won't want it behind. This one's in the front. This flower is always in the front. So it can be in the back a little bit and hide behind or go over some of the flowers. But I still want this rose here to be in the front. So this one is going to be tucked in. Now there might be a little stick here that we see. We don't have to draw a lot of detail. We're going to do this really loose. We're going to just have a loose little grouping of items here. Now let's go ahead and stick a few more of those other little picks in. So we're going to have maybe one off to the side and one up here. And it looks good to have them facing different directions. So like one to the left, one to the right. So they're not just like little telephone poles going straight up and down. You want to add some different directions. So you don't want them all going the same way. So take a look and see what makes the most sense on your paper. Now I know I'm going to have one here, so I'm going to put my little stick here kind of first, just to give me an idea. And then most likely I'll have one coming here. Now I'm going to go ahead and pop my heart in here. I want to make sure I have some room for some leaves and stuff. So I'm going to just pop my heart in. Okay, there's that one heart. Now make this one a different size if you can. Consider that they're not all the same size. So this one could be bigger than the one you just drew. Maybe it's a little wonky or in shape. It's not perfect. Change it up some way, somehow. And that can also be changed with a pattern as well if you want to draw a pattern as well. Here we go. We're going to just change it. I want a little bit of a different size. Okay, cute. I've got a good little setup. Now let's put a few more fillers in there. So the fillers are going to be these little like little kind of grass-like items, skinny lines. They can have some curve in them, make them go down, make them go different directions. And they're going to have a little heart attached to each of those filler flowers. So down here, I kind of got really a little whimsical, loose with my drawings and drew them all different ways. So take a look at yours and see where it might make sense to add some. So I'm thinking I'm going to add some again down here. I'm going to do just a little bit of a whimsical line, make it feel like it's loosening up, and it's going to add some looseness to your drawing so it's not so static, and just adds a lot of character and movement to your drawing. Okay, so I've got some there. Now let's see, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add a few more like behind here. Up maybe towards that one, maybe this way. And I'm going to change the directions again so they're not all poking out the same way. So I want to have some down, some up, some coming around. Let's go ahead and put some little hearts here. Hello everyone, thanks for coming on tonight on the live. I so appreciate you coming. If you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, you know how YouTube loves that. I'd really appreciate it. So I've got 1, 2, I need a third spot to put some more of these in, and I'm thinking maybe they're gonna go here. Let's add some here. I like to have that odd number if I can. Okay, and maybe there's just the little 3 that live there. Perfect. All right, so now we got our balls, our tulip shape is in there. Now we need to lay in some leaves. So I'm gonna lay in some leaves. If you take a look here, I have some leaves, but not a lot of leaves. Most of my bouquet is taken up by those really pretty little flowers. So I'm gonna take an opportunity to bring some right into the front and go over my container, because I don't need a lot of pink, that's just the container. So I'm gonna fill up that space a little bit. So I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna make a leaf. Now this is kind of those football leaves that I always talk about, where they are pointy here. There's a belly in the middle like a football. And if I were to draw it all the way, there would be another point on this end. But I'm just going to do a partial. So it's going to come up, roll. It looks good to roll it up a little bit and then come back. Okay, so I'm going to start here and I'm just going to roll it up. There's my leaf, and then I'm going to come back. There we go. And then I'm going to do a vine. So I'm going to bring it down this way. And off of this one, I'm going to do that football leaf. So it's pointy here. Then there's a belly, and then it comes to a point. Out, belly, and in, like that. Now I'm going to come on this side, and I'm going to kick it this way this time. So here we come, this direction. And I'm going to do that football, full football this time again, like I did here. So it's got a point back there. It's going to start with that point, a belly, and then it's going to come a little smaller. I pretty much want to make this leaf a different shape than I did the rest of them. So smaller, middle, just a sideways one. Now this is going to be having some centers in it, and we'll put some of those details in after I do the watercolor. So I have a grouping here. Let's see if there's room to do another one here. If I want to put that rose even farther behind, I can come in here and pop in a leaf that maybe goes partly over my tulip and then comes back, and it's just that partial. It's not like it's a full football. It's only a partial football. It's coming around this way, so only a partial football. But by putting my leaf there, that's going to even push that little back rose here even further back. Okay, so we've got a room for a couple more leaves. I'm going to come here and put a leaf here, up here. Maybe there's just a partial one. Maybe it's going behind this flower. Let's come in here. I love doing these little leaves with a little bit of hint of coral or pink in it. They look beautiful by adding that in there. All right, so I have it all set up. Now I'm going to erase whatever might be lines wise into the middle of my flowers. I'm going to open those up a little bit, and then let's put in a little bit of detail. We don't have to put in a lot, because where the beauty comes in with this is oh, you're watching on TV. Oh, I'm glad. Yeah, it is different when you're big. It's different when you're big. Let's go ahead and work somewhat on the centers of these flowers. Let's take a look at how I drew them originally. I'll bring this up close so you can see this. Can you see how my pencil lines are still in there? They're very sketchy and loose. So we're going to start with a little blossomy shape in the middle, and then we're going to just do some higgly-piggly lines that come around. Now what's going to add the dimension so everything doesn't look like it's just straight on us, on top of us, is we're going to start with this one right on the middle, because this flower is going to, and we'll get to that other part. So I'm going to do a C shape right here, a C, like a C right there, like that. And then I'm going to come kind of in the middle and make another C, or backwards C, like that. And now I'm going to come to the top here, and this is going to be like a sad face shape. And I'm not doing it exact. I'm kind of wiggling my hand. And then I'm going to come up and I'm going to maybe pop in real close underneath this one. Now I'm going to do that C shape, and I'm going to go past that line I just did. Okay, and then let's come out a little bit farther. Let's just do a little higgly-piggly line. It's not complete. It doesn't touch anything. And we're going to loosen that line up. Now we're going to get a lot more loose when we add our watercolor on there, so we don't have to worry too much about developing that solid rose look. Now let's come to this one. So to change it, to make it look like it's not looking directly at the front of us, is we're going to start that center up higher towards the flower back here. So if I do my C shape here and then back this way, now all of a sudden this flower is going to have a different direction, and it's not going to be pointing exactly right towards me. Okay, that's easy to switch up your picture. So the C, we're going to make sure we leave some white when we're doing these flowers inside of them. Okay, so that one's facing that way. This one's facing straight on. Now let's put this one in. Now we're going to do on the opposite side. So it's going to make it look like the flower is facing a different direction. We're going to start up high here with my C. We're going to do a C here, come in the middle, doing a little C like that. So we got our C shapes in. And then we're going to start wiggling it around, crossing over, not having to worry. Now I want it behind this paper. So I'm going to come in here and just maybe fill up my space. And it's kind of the one that's tucked behind that flower is. Okay, not a lot of detail. Now we have this back one here. I'm going to do it more, not as high. I'm going to put it more here towards the center. But the way it's drawn, it's going to still look like it's got a slight turn to it. So I'm going to start here, do my C's. And around, and by creating that, changing the centers, you're going to really change the direction that your flowers are, and they're not all going to look like they're facing towards you in such a repetitive pattern. So just by doing those simple lines, switching the centers, you're going to get a really pretty look. Now let's work a little bit on this tulip shape here. Now to do the tulip, I'm going to follow this line. I'm going to make it go a little higher than where I drew this one. And then I'm going to come back. I'm going to fold it across itself here. So I'm going to give it a little bit of dimension that way. And the rounded top here, I'm going to start in the middle. And I'm going to do simply kind of like how I did that flower, how I just do the higgly-piggly marks, going back and forth. That's probably not even a turn. Jiggle-wiggle marks, higgly-piggly. Okay, and I'm probably not even going to see a stem or anything there at all. We already have all of our flowers set in. Now we can come here with a little bit in our pencil work and do some veins or in the middle of our leaves, just ever so lightly. We'll be able to loosen these up a little bit more when we come in at the end. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on the details. We're going to jump right in to the watercolor. Okay, so we have it all drawn, cute as can be. I'm hoping you're seeing some of your flower directions change and how easily that comes together by just changing up the flowers. Now tonight, for those who might be new to watercolor, because everybody jumps on at different stages, when you get your little sets out, this is a set that doesn't have any tube colors that go with it. They're all in cakes. So once the colors ran out, there's really no way to replace this color. It would just be gone. But you can, when you get these little these sets, because they are so reasonably priced, you could start with this set and then work your way through it, see how you like the colors, and see if you would want to progress to the next level or set and try some different things. But you always want to make a color card no matter what, because the colors look so differently here, dry in your pan, versus what they're going to look like on your paper when you actually use them. So it's a great idea to do a color card so you can tell what your colors are. This saves me so much time looking and experimenting with the colors. So I love to have a color card. And I'm going to be using some of the fluorescent pink tonight. This set actually comes, this little set here, comes with some fluorescent colors down here. The green, the pink, the orange, and the yellow are fluorescent. It also comes with a few metallics as well. That might be fun too to pop in this picture as well. But I'm going to be using some metallic pinks, some lighter pinks, and then you can't tell it in the pan, but I'm going to be using this bright magenta color, and then up in here in those purples is what I'm going to be using. But you use whatever makes you happy and use your colors, but that's just a good way to set up your pan. I'm going to start with my little center flower here, and I'm going to start out with just kind of a light pink, but that's where I know for sure I'm going to be adding some of my magenta. So with watercolor, if you're right-handed, set everything to your right-hand side of you, like your water, your paint, your mixing area, so you're not accidentally dropping water onto your surface. And then you're going to have a paper towel that you're going to want in your hand because you're going to need to be able to control the water a little bit. And when you're mixing color for watercolor, you always start light and then work your way dark. And you'll hear people, other artists refer to tea consistency or milk. Your first layers are usually tea consistency is what you're looking for. So I'm wetting my color in my pan, transferring it over to my palette. And that just helps me so I can control the water, control how much paint I have on my brush. Tonight I'm using the Princeton Velvet Touch brush, the number 6. Works perfect for these little areas. Now I'm going to go ahead and just take some clear water and I'm going to go right over this area. I'm not going to fill it all the way in. I'm going to leave some open areas because I don't want to fill in my whole flower. Now because my area is wet, I can tap it and wherever the water is, that color is going to sit right in there and follow those areas. Watercolor always wants to follow wherever the water is. So I loaded just a little bit of water. I don't have a ton of puddles on there. Now I'm going to go ahead and take just a tiny bit more darker pink, less water this time over here. And I'm going to pop in a little bit of that color. So this is a dark color. Let's see, I think I need to wet that one. That was left over. I'm going to add a little bit more to that. I'm going to pop in a little bit darker. I know I would have darker in the middle. I'm still trying to leave some white. I'm not going to want all of my color to be that solid dark pink. Now while my color is still wet, I'm still going to pick up a little bit of that magenta. Not a lot of water on my brush. I'm going to give it a tap. And this is where I'm going to pop in some of that magenta, or not magenta, my neon pink. Ooh, isn't that pretty? Now that's just going to sit and do some of its watercolor magic, and those colors will just blend and melt into each other. And I'm just going to let it do its own thing for right now. Now I'm going to pick up some more of that light pink, and I'm going to start with this flower here, and I'm going to add some of my light pink in. And I'm going to add some coral to this one, so a little bit of orange to this one. I love orange and pink together. I think it's really pretty. Now while this is still wet, I'm going to tap in a little bit of orange. Now, I don't have a lot of water on this brush right now because my water is on my paper. Okay, and I'm going to let that sit for just a little bit. I'm going to take a clean brush. Do I have more watercolors out today? I forgot how, oh yes, they are. They are so bold. They are. Yes, that's for sure. All watercolors are just like any other paint. It really depends on the brand, what the pigments are, how they work. They really do change from brand to brand. So you were right, Carrie. Let's do another pink one. I'm going to do lighter color this time because this one's farther back. So I want more water to my color. So this one is going to be a little bit more transparency. So I'm going to just put some pink in here. It doesn't even have to stay really that much into my flower. It's a little bit lighter. I could take some of my dark pink, pop it in there, just a little bit. I don't want it the same value as the rest of them, so I want it to feel like it's going to the back. So this one's going to be a tiny bit lighter. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that orange too, because like I said, I love coral inside of these. Pink and coral flowers are so pretty. Okay, so I'm going to let that stop. I still left a little bit of white in there. You can see how I'm trying to leave a little bit of white in there. Now I've got that one way in the back. I'm going to start with a peach this time. So I'm going to do a peach color right up here. So I've got more of a peachy color from my set. And I'm going to pop that in there this time, trying to leave some white spots. So it's going to be, and I'm going to lay another layer of my peach in, just to add a little bit more dark, because that peach is going to dry lighter. Remember, watercolor does dry light. And then I'm going to pop in just a little bit of pink. So it's the opposite of what I was doing down here, pink, and then popping in a little bit of the orange. So you can kind of see how that's building up. Pretty, right? Let's take a break. Let those roses dry. Let's come down here and work on this paper. And that I just used the light pink for, but I added about milk consistency this time, so a little darker. And I'm going to come right in here and I'm going to follow this, and I'm going to tell you why I did milk this time, because I'm going to use a cotton ball to try to create a real soft polka dot pattern in my area. So this is This is not 100% cotton watercolor paper, so it's not going to stay wet as like 100% watercolor paper, 100% cotton, I mean, watercolor paper. But I do get a little bit of time. Okay, so I've got that pink. I'm going to pick up a little bit darker pink now. Pop that in, maybe on the edges, because I want it to look like it's going around. And over here too, just a little bit darker. Okay, and then I can add some darkness underneath here. Underneath my leaves, I know there would be some dark there. Okay, so when my paper is still wet, I'm going to take a Q-tip and I'm going to roll it kind of tight. This is a cheap Q-tip, but I'm going to come in here and blot out some circles. I'm going to try this, see if I can't get this to work. I'm going to rub a circle in with my Q-tip. It helps if there's not too much fluff on it, actually, like a little bit of fluff. I don't know if I can get it to work tonight or not. You know, when you're live, it doesn't want to work. Try this just a little up and down. Experiment with it, see how you like it. I did bring some alcohol to even try doing it, but I was afraid that the alcohol might make my dots really spread out. That's something to try. It is kind of mixing up my paper a little bit. If I bring this close, you can kind of see how it's scratching my paper a little bit, and I don't really like that look. But it was worth a try, and I might just do plain water and see if I can't rub a little bit of a circle, which may be a thirsty brush where you have some water. It's just clean water. Rub out some of that color and try that, and that might be just as productive. Sometimes we gotta try some things. Sometimes they work, and other times they don't. It could be a fail. All right, let's let dry a little bit. Now you can take a look too if you need to push and pull your colors. We talked about that last time. I can see now where I missed. I see where I missed right here as part of my paper. We talked about that last time about a good watercolor skill to learn is about pushing and pulling colors. So when you have them down on your paper, sometimes you might have to come in with a thirsty brush or just a slightly damp brush and push and pull your colors around so you're not getting just straight lines across your areas. Okay, I'm thinking that looks good. Let's work a little bit on this little purple guy back here. So in my set, I have some purples here. I have this darker purple. I'm going to start with a bright purple in the back and then work my way dark. So I'm going to start this way and I'm going to come in, just lay some of this in. Oh, that's too light. Let's take up a little bit darker purple. I don't want it to be the same color as my roses. Okay, so we're going to lay some of that in, but I know I'm going to be laying a darker purple on top. Let's lay some of that in here. Two. Okay, let's come up here to this darker purple. Let's pop that in. I'm going to see if I can't leave some white ridges right at the edge just as a highlight. Now, if I lose it all, I can always come back in with my Uniball pen and add a little bit more dimension to it. Okay, so I'm popping in that other color. And I don't want to cover up everything I just put on, so I still want to see some of that rosier color purple, but more violet-y color. In we go here. Whoops, that's way too much water. I've got way too much of a puddle there. I'm going to end up with a big old water spot. So I'm going to dry my brush and I'm going to pick up some of that water before I get a lot of puddling happening in there and get more of a bloom that I really want. Blooms are good, but not every time. Only if you really want them. Okay. All right, I'm going to let that sit and see what happens with that one. Okay, there we go. All right, let's work a little bit on some of these solid hearts. And what I did is I just picked up some of the same colors that I used with my flowers, and that's what I painted those. So I'm going to start this one purple. If you can, try to leave some white in there. So you've got a white little catch light, always looks good. And I'm going to take that same purple that I used on my tulip, and I'm going to just pop that in there. Let that color kind of float together and do its watercolor magic. All right, that'll sit and activate because it's pretty wet. Now on this side over here, I'm going to do that pink, but I'm going to put in some of that magenta color too because the magenta is really pretty. Not, I keep on saying magenta. I mean neon. I mean neon. Okay, let's pop that in there. The neon color is very intense, very bright, but oh, so pretty in this painting. Okay, you can see how that really does pop. We're going to let that sit for a little bit. Now the center one, I kind of did a little bit more orange, a little brighter color actually. I did a little bit more orange and then I popped some pink into it. So I'm going to do this orange color here. And then I'm going to layer a little bit of pink in there. So it's different than this flower. It'll be different than the one next to it. So it doesn't all blend together because I do want some separation. I'm going to leave some white spots in there. Now let's pick up, and I'm thinking I'm going to do that neon color, and let's pop some of that in there. Ooh, that's gorgeous. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Ooh, love that color. That's so pretty. All right, let's work a little bit on the leaves now. So the leaves, I'm just going to start out with like kind of a medium shade green, but I'm going to be adding some pink into it as well. I do have like a brighter green, like this is a bright green. I might have to move over one more on my color scale. Let's see. Let's see what color. That's probably the one I want though. The other ones start going blue in my set. So let's see what we got going on here. Okay, so this is a lighter green. Let's pop some of this in. But I want to leave some open spaces. I don't want it to be all green. And then I'm going to pop some pink in there while it's still wet. So I'm going to pop in a little bit of pink. Now my pink and my green will make kind of a shade of brown, but you're still going to get hints of that pink in there. And it just makes the most pretty little leaves if you can have a little bit of pink in there, or at least I think so anyway. So let's put some up here too. I'm going to add that green. This time I might pick up a little bit darker green, maybe even a bluish green. That one's coming down in my set, so I'm kind of going this direction in here. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of bluer green and maybe pop some of that in there, just a tiny bit. Let the colors do its magic. And then again, I'm going to pick up just a little bit of pink and pop that in there too. And let it play together there. Okay, we got one more leaf here. This one here, I'm going to pop in my green. And then pop in some pink. Let's see, this lighter pink is what I was kind of going for. Let's tap that in there. Okay, let's let that dry a little bit. Now for the outside hearts, what I did for those is I used the same colors that I've used here before, and I picked them up, not trying to get a bunch of water on my brush. And what I'm going to do is do little circles around the outsides of my hearts. So I'm going to do like little floaty circles around them. And I'm going to have like these little bubbles of hearts with these colors on them. So now I'm going to switch it up and choose a different color. So let's see, where was my brighter color? Over here, this reddish color. And I'm going to pop that around this one. And up here too. Now you could also pick up a little bit of that bright neon color if you have that in your set. You could try a little bit of that. Woo, we're going to water that down for sure. And this is just going to be a subtle little color bubble. Okay, let's find a purple one, more of the purple color. And then let's do a little bit of a shape around there, like so. Okay, so we've got one up here too. Now your bubbles can overcrop or lapse over each other too, which kind of would make a cool look because your colors would show through that you have those different areas. And let's do one more. I'm thinking, let's see, one more color. Decisions. Let's see, let's go back to this light pink here. And let's pop that in. Oops, a little bit too much water. Okay, let's let those dry, and then we'll be able to, I didn't quite finish this bottom here. More a little rounded off. We'll let that dry, and then when we come back in, what I'm going to do is take a less wet brush, almost kind of like acrylic paint type feeling with your watercolors, and then I'm going to pop in the stronger value of my heart. But now what I want to do is I'm going to let that dry like that. Let's go ahead and lay in our background while we're letting things dry here. I'm going to switch to my brush to a number 10 Velvet Touch, and I'm just going to do a little bit more of that peach color, that really light peach. Now, if you're using gel pens or anything like that, you can decide how much detail you want to put in here with those. That would be a great little gel pen detail where you could put your sparkly gel pens inside of the hearts. That would be really pretty. Or do the stems and that of your greens. So many options. I didn't really do any pen work on this one this time. I just kept it pencil, but I don't mind seeing a little bit of pencil. Now I've got my peach loaded up. Now I'm going to add some light pink because I'm going to throw a little bit of that light pink in every now and again. I'm going to add kind of just a real watery, loose pink over here. All right, I'm going to start at the top with my peach, and I'm going to work my way down. So I'm just going to blush my way down here. Now, watercolor isn't really permanent at this stage. It hasn't had very much time to dry. So you don't want to spend a lot of time rubbing into the areas you already have finished, because you're going to end up really mixing your colors together too much. And remember, because watercolor wants to flow wherever it's wet. Now, when I do my backgrounds, I try to move quick. I twist my brush around a lot. I'm going to come in here and add a little bit too, just in the background. I change the directions. I'm okay with some white showing through because it just adds to the whimsical nature of my drawings that I like to do and the paintings I like to do. So I'm going to come in, add a little bit more. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit more of that peach this time. I'm going to add a little less water. So we're going to still have the same color. And then I'm going to lay in a little bit more. So around my paper, I'm going to add some depth there. Or the wrapping of the flowers, I guess is what I wanted to say. The holders of the flowers. And I'm going to just brush in a little bit darker of the color. And then while this is still wet, I'm going to pick up a little bit of the pink. And I'm going to stroke some pink in there as well. And add that another layer into my background. Look at how pretty it is getting. It's turning out just gorgeous. Fun, whimsical little drawing. Okay, let's give this a quick little dry because it's pretty wet. I'm moving pretty fast. Normally, if I'm doing it by myself, I would just let this dry and have an opportunity for all that color to mix together and blend and get those little sweet surprises of the watercolor. But because we're live and we're moving kind of fast tonight, I'm going to just give it a dry. Now you're going to notice it's going to start to buckle because I don't have it taped down. But if you put a little bit of heat onto the back of that, that should help flatten it out. If you definitely want to make sure that your paper doesn't do this wrinkling business, you'll need to tape it down to your surface before you start working on it. And then it won't do that for you. You can wet the backs a little bit after you've painted and then put it down in between like some parchment paper and then get it on some heavy books and get it to be flat that way too. So there's some tricks that you can do even if it wrinkles up. Okay, let's see what we got. I got wrinkly paper is what I got. Now what I did say is I was going to use my pencil to come in and do a few more details. So this is where I like to do a little bit of sketchy motion. So I'm going to follow some of my lines and I'm going to go past them. And I'm going to add some scribbling motions and a little bit more pressure to my pencil here and there. And this is how I'm going to put my detail in. I'm using still the number 2 pencil, so I'm not changing anything like that, but I'm just adding a few more scribbly bits and loosening up my drawing or my painting. You can go past your flowers. They don't have to stay in what you drew. And I'm just kind of loosening up the scribbly bits of my painting. Up here, come in, add a few more. You can press harder to get darker lines so they can have some different line work that way. Hold your pencil a little bit farther back so you have a little bit more looseness to your hand while you're doing this. So it's not so tight. Coming up. The good old scribbly bits. Now I'm going to come in here and strengthen these lines just a tiny bit. Oops, did I blink out? Sorry. And up here, come around. My hand was messing with the focus. My camera wants to focus on my hand. I've tried different, raising my camera up to different levels and experimenting with some of those things. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't so much. I'm going to come over here, add some scribbly bits to here. A little bit of scribbly bits. Let's finish up those hearts. Okay, so I'm going to come back into my same colors that I used, but this time I've got not a lot of water. It's just the tip of my brush, and I'm going to come in and pop in some of those colors and darken them. I kind of call this like, it's almost like you're doing painting with acrylic paint. It's that dark. Normally when you're thinking about watercolor, you're doing very light layers of color. This one is a little bit more thick. If you had some gouache, you could also pop in the color with gouache. That would look great. Or like I said earlier, if you're doing gel pens or markers, you could come in and add a little bit of that. Or even some acrylic paint. If you had just plain acrylic paint and wanted to do it that way, would be great. Although I enjoy doing marker work as well. Let's pop in another bright one up here. Okay, let's pick some dark purple. I'm not adding a lot of water. Put that up here. These are turning out so cute. Okay. And then maybe let's put in a bright orange one too. Let's put in the bright orange one over here. Okay. Great. Let's add a little bit more of mixed media items. So let's go ahead and take that. Oh, I forgot. I added in the poem too. No. Everybody's the poem. Do you remember the poem? Roses are red, violets are blue. I looked it up because it was like, how does it really go? It's the old original one says, and the honey was sweet, and so are you. But I think I learned it as the sugar, and sugar is sweet, and so are you. But I just hand wrote that over my poem-wise to take up some space and add some interest there. And the camera is big on you and small on the picture. Oh, that's what changed. Thanks, Carrie. I thought I saw something. I saw something switch. You know, sometimes that happens for no apparent reason. Thanks, Carrie, for pointing that out. Something happened. I don't know for sure what it was. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of do a scribbling cursive writing for that poem. And it's not like you're going to really be able to read it. It's just going to be in the background. So roses are red. And then I'm going to write violets are blue. I'm going to write the honey is sweet. Oops. And so are you. And you don't have to read it. And actually, you don't want to be able to read it. It's just kind of scribbly bits and kind of just a fun little process. I'm going to take this little bit of gold marker from Watercolor, and I'm going to pop. There it did again. I don't know why it's doing that. Oh, my phone, it's being temperamental. It's being temperamental. Okay, so let's pop it in there. It's being a little sassy tonight, my phone is. Well, what you know. Sorry about that. I guess it's telling me my time is up. Let's put some dots in the center of those. Isn't that weird? I don't know if it's because my camera is trying to focus and then it's blinking in and out or what the problem is. But anyway, let's see if we can't push it a little bit farther. See if my camera will cooperate with me. And sometimes I see things differently than what you see things. So hopefully it's probably is blinking out though on your end as well. Let's do it this way. Let's turn it. And let's come across. There. I'm thinking that's really pretty. And again, if you have any glitter, I like the Stickles brand. You can add a little bit of Stickles on there and make it even a little bit more sparkly on there. I think it's a great little card, or even hanging it up or framing it and having it in a space where you get to see every day and enjoy it. This would be a fun thing to have. So that is it for tonight. I'll be back again on YouTube and Facebook on next Tuesday. I'll be live then as well. And you could join me there for another draw along. And we might be sticking with the Valentine theme. I do enjoy drawing little sweet Valentine pictures. Thanks everyone for joining me, and you have a great evening, and we'll see you again on the YouTube. Bye now.